hello. This is Marshall Goldsmith. Welcome to LinkedIn Live. We have a wonderful show today. We're going to be talking about designing the life and the work that you love. And we have the two world's experts, one on designing your life and one on designing your business. And they're both here in the same room. So life is indeed good. I'm going to briefly introduce myself. Then we're going to go to my wonderful comrade, Sanyin. And then after that, we'll have our two fine guests get rolling here. So I'm Marshall. I'm from Kentucky. I went to school in Indiana. I got a PhD at UCLA. I was a college professor and dean. I traveled around the world giving talks and teaching classes, been to 102 countries. I coached executives. I've been the coach of CEO Ford and Pfizer and the Glaxo and the World Bank and all kinds of wonderful people. And that's where I learned everything. And then I write books and articles. So I've written or edited 41 books. I've done 6 bestsellers and then 35 purchased by my mother, my father, and associated relatives. So life is good. And also one thing I'm most proud of is I went to a program put on by this wonderful woman named Ayse Birsel. I forget where she is right now. Wonderful woman, Ayse Birsel. It was called Design the Life You Love. And she asked me who my heroes were. And she inspired me to try to be more like my heroes. And I came up with an idea of, I said, I'm going to adopt 15 people, teach them all I know for free. And when they get old, they have to do the same thing. I made a little video and put it here on LinkedIn. And I thought 100 people would apply. Well, so far, over 18,000 people have applied. And it's just an amazing community, which would not have happened without her, of course. And so 3 of the proud members of our group, that at least that I'm proud of, are right here, right now, with Sanyin and Ayse and Alex. And before we get started, let me introduce my great comrade, Sanyin Siang. Now, I used to be the Thinkers 50 #1 executive coach ranked in the whole world for many years, but now they put me in the Hall of Fame. That's where they put the old people. So now I'm the used to be #1. And the new #1 Thinkers 50 coach is my wonderful friend, Sanyin Siang. Sanyin is wonderful. Sanyin, introduce yourself in a couple of minutes, and then you can introduce, Ayse, and I'll introduce Alex. How's that?
That sounds great, Marshall. And importantly, audience members, please put your questions and your thoughts into the comment boxes below the screen. And what we promise you, towards the end of the show, we will get to your questions for Ayse and for Alex. And also, if you like something that you're hearing, remember to click that like or love button. So when Marshall bursts into song, for example, be sure to click that like button, okay? And hi, everyone. I'm Sanyin Siang. I am designated by Thinkers 50 as the world's #1 executive coach. And I work with board directors, CEOs, military generals, and students, because I'm also the executive director of Duke University's Coach K Center on Leadership and Ethics at its Fuqua School of Business. And I'm also a very proud mom. Now, if you can't tell, I can't stop smiling today. And I can't stop smiling because we have 2 of my favorite people on the show today. So I'm going to introduce Ayse Birsel. Okay, so, all right. And the hard part for me is to keep this brief. I could just talk on and on about Ayse. So Ayse is one of Fast Company's most creative people in the world. And when her name is mentioned in the design world and in business, people just light up, because Ayse is also deeply profound and wise. Every time we talk, I learn something from her. She is also the world's, of course, #1 life design coach and the author of one of my favorite books, Design the Life You Love. And this book is so unlike any other book you've ever read, because look, it's got her brilliant, it's a mix of visual delights, workbooks, and deep questions. And every time I talk to Ayse, I learn from her. All right, so, okay, we could go on and on, but I'm gonna turn it over to Marshall now to introduce Alex.
And I'm here introducing my comrade. Before that, Ayse is also my coach. She's been coaching me to redesign my own life. So yesterday she was coaching me for quite a while. So she's wonderful. You can coach me, you can coach anybody. So that's the ultimate compliment right now. Now I'm here to introduce our good. a good friend, Alex Osterwalder. Alex is just a wonderful person. He's ranked #4 overall management and business figure in the entire world. And I think he's by far the youngest on the list. I mean, most of the people on the list are old people. And, but again, so Alex, see, the good news is you're on the list. The bad news is you're not going to be in the Hall of Fame forever. You're just not old enough. He's the author of 4 big selling books, including The Invincible Company, and he's the developer of the business model Canvas. Also, he's also a great guy, very smart, creative guy, always trying new things. So we've got a couple of wonderful guests. Let's get rolling. We're going to start by asking this question to Ayse. Why is it important to design the life you love?
Marshall, thank you. And you are a great designer of life, so you know the answer to this. But the reason that this is important is you want to be able to deconstruct your life, look at the pieces, and then put it back together in a new way. And this allows you to really understand what are the essential pieces of your life, what are the things that you want to change, the things that you want to avoid or delete, and put it back together. And from that, create an original life, a life that resembles you, looks like you, and meets, kind of meshes with your values. That's why you need to design your life.
Give me one reflection that you've had, because you've been doing this now with a lot of people. One reflection for our observers, our viewers, about what have you learned from watching people try to design their own lives, including me and Sanyin and all the people on this call?
That's a great question, Marshall. One thing that I've learned, and I've helped thousands of people across the globe design their lives. The youngest ones were 13, and actually Alex's daughter was one of my youngest students. She came to my session with my daughter. When they were both 13. And then the oldest is 90 plus. So anyone can design their life. And what I've learned from them is that people are extraordinarily creative, but they simply need a process. So what I do is I provide deconstruction, reconstruction, which is my design thinking process, to everyone, and anyone can design their life.
I love it.
Oh.
Sanyin, what's a good question for our comrade Alex?
Well, let's take the idea of process to enable anyone to design the life they love. And so, Alex, you are also a master of process creation. What is design the business you love?
So it's actually the same process, and I've learned a lot from Ayse, applying it to my own life. But when you create a business as an entrepreneur, you're designing something, right? You're designing an object. It just happens to be a social object, a business. And I think sometimes we make too many compromises and we don't design the kind of business we want to really create. A great workplace with the right kind of culture. It's not something you should let happen. You should create it. That is as an entrepreneur. But if you are a senior leader, you might have influence over a lot of people. So I believe, you have a really big responsibility to design a great business as well. Because it's not just about creating value for customers and creating value for your organization. It's also about creating value for your team and for society, right? So that's, what you can do as a senior leader. And maybe on a smaller scale, if you're a team lead or, you work in groups, you should design the kind of business environment, the kind of business working culture you want to create. I think there's a huge responsibility there. And sometimes we just don't realize that we can actually design and manage social systems as well. So, the same principles that we see in designing objects or designing our life, it was a big revelation for me, reading Ayse's book. The same thing can be actually applied to business.
Listening to both of you, I was just going to say, in this notion of design is a sense of you can architect what you just said, Alex, is that you can architect your future, you can architect your company, you can architect your life. And in that architecture, that design sense is a sense of agency, So Marshall, back to you.
I got a question. Justin, Our buddy Justin from Methods is here, and they do a great job of sponsoring all of our programs and putting all this stuff on. I got a question for the audience. There's this quote, and it relates to something that Alex just said, and that is, the only way to predict the future is to create it. Now, I've heard this quote attributed to about 7 different people. Who the hell said this anyway? The only way to predict the future is to create it. I want Justin, that's a question for our listeners. Send in your idea. Who said this damn quote anyway? Because I hear everybody in the world. So have everybody send in their ideas. Who said this? Just you can accumulate. I'll ask some questions, but be accumulating some of the answers. Sanyin, I've been thinking about it.
Marshall. I love how you are turning this into now a trivia show. So I love it.
Ayse, now that I think about it, and Sanyin, I think the quote must have come from me. I think maybe I was the guy that So now I have a question for both of you. Why is understanding this concept of design, why is understanding the concept or the principles of design, why is that it's so important in life and in business? So this time we'll start with Alex and then go back to Ayse.
Cool.
Well, we sometimes think, institutions or so, they just happen. And the design process is something you can learn. So it's that aspect that I think is really important and is completely underestimated. And, design thinking is now in business is pretty popular, but I don't think we're really good at it yet. We almost need to see it like a profession, right? You're designing things is not just about creative genius. It is really about process. And too many people think they can get away with, I don't do that kind of stuff, or that's not me. It's a process that you can learn. So you can't just throw away that responsibility. You have the obligation, or maybe even, moral obligation to design the kind of business you want to see. So I think it's something you can learn, and a lot more business leaders should actually go on that designing track. So definitely something we shouldn't just neglect as a nice to have. It's core of the kind of workplaces and businesses we want to create. And as you said, it allows us to design the future. So it's something we should really actively take into our hands.
Right. How about you, Ayse?
I love what you said, Alex, and it truly is that. And when it comes to designing your life, it's applying design process to your life. And the reason for that is, I think our life is our biggest project. I mean, I've designed products and systems and services for large Fortune 500 companies, and I usually tell my friends, you've probably sat in one of my either office systems or toilets, and it's kind of like the two ends of the scale. But the gist of it is to be able to turn challenges into opportunities. I mean, design is a very positive discipline. It's about improving people's lives. So designing your life with design tools allows you to take challenges, turn them into opportunities, and improve your life. And wouldn't we want to do that?
Well, very, very important point, Ayse. Many people may not know that you are the queen of toilet design as well. So you have designed furniture, you have designed toilets. So I'm glad you shared that with the group, because people may not have known that important fact about you. Now, you did an exercise to change my life.
The whole world knows.
Now the whole world knows.
Thanks to you, Marshall. Now the whole world knows. Thank you.
This is called Design the Toilet That You Love.
No, it's called Design the Life You Love Before Your Life Goes Down the Toilet.
I even like it better.
I have a question.
Sanyin,
Okay, so now you've given us the what is design the life and the business you love. And then you've given us the why, the so what. Now, can both of you give us just one key thing that our viewers who are listening in today can get started in terms of taking action for designing the life or the business that they love. Alex, you go
Yeah,
first.
Sanyin. Okay, go ahead. I've got one for Sanyin later. I mean, I've got one for Ayse later. Let Alex go first.
Yeah, so, I think sometimes business people mistake business as, purely decision making. But I think the world is getting so complex that the what is actually more about creating the conditions and the context for people to prosper, for your teams to prosper, for the great ideas to emerge. Now, the question is, what can you do? I work on innovation, so I'll give an example there. What can you do as a leader, as a business person, as an entrepreneur to actually, let innovation happen in your organization? Well, first thing is very simple. Just tear down all of the boundaries, all of the obstacles that are holding people back from innovating. Because one of the things I believe sincerely is that no company has an innovation talent problem. They don't have a people problem. They have a process problem or a context problem. So what you need to do as a leader is look at all of the things that are holding people back from doing great work, or if you're looking at innovation, from actually, trying to explore new ideas, because the principles there are very different. You need to experiment a lot. You're going to fail a lot. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to change your idea a lot. So it's very different from planning. So as a leader, you just need to start to kill those obstacles that are holding people back from doing great work. And automatically you'll have great teams, great people, and great ideas emerge and come to success. So I think there's a pretty big shift there in leadership. You can design the context for your team to prosper. It's not about picking ideas or picking people. It's about creating the conditions. And that's a design process.
Context is so
Very
important.
good.
Thank you, Alex. Yes.
Now, Ayse, I'm going to bias your thinking here. You came up with one very clear tool that changed my life. I want you to share that with the group. Share this heroes exercise that you did, which was a great design principle that changed my life.
Great. Marshall, great minds think alike. I was going to talk about heroes, so thank you for biasing me without even knowing that I was going to do that. But I think it's really the magical tool in my toolbox is heroes. And it's about asking yourself who your heroes or role models are. And Marshall, in your case, when I asked you this question, you thought of all the amazing teachers that you've had in your life, from Frances Hasselbein to Alan Mulally to Jim Kim to Buddha. But what you do is you think of your heroes and then you think about what is it about them that inspire you. And for Marshall, it was how his teachers taught him everything they know without asking for anything in return. And that's exactly the insight that you're looking for. What is it that inspires you about your heroes? You write those down, and then I turn the tables on you and I basically tell you that what you recognize in your heroes are your own values. And so to own those values, and in Marshall's case, I told him, hey, that's who you are. You want to teach everything you know to others without anything asking for in return. And from that, MG100 was born. So Marshall, how was that? Is that a good description of the heroes exercise? There you go.
Very, very, very good. Very good. Now, I've got one for Alex.
Sanyin.
Alex, I have a question for you. I'm writing this new book, The Earned Life, and Sanyin and I, we're in, and I think you guys might be in this LPR process where people talk about their lives every week and they do this red, yellow, green thing. I have found, Alex, it is phenomenally difficult for people to just say, I failed. I mean, it is so hard. Instead of just saying I failed, people say, well, yes, I said I would do something last week and I didn't do it, but it's really because I'm a hero, I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated. I had to take care of my children, my mother died, or some, bad. There's always some story. It's very hard for people to just say, you know what, I set a goal last week. Let's tell the truth. I failed. I just failed. I find that just unbelievably difficult for people to do. And I think one reason Alan Mulally is such an amazing leader is he creates an environment where people can do it. So question number one, Alex, why is it so hard for all of us? I'm not exempting myself. I'm certainly in the same category. Why is it so hard for all of us to just say, you know what, I screwed up?
I think that's a wonderful question. I think it's a cultural challenge to a certain extent, right? We like, putting people on the cover of the magazine, and then we always only see the shiny part. What we don't see is behind the success that you see on the cover of the magazine or in a TV show or so. We don't see the trail of failure that actually led to that success. We don't see, the learning, sometimes the suffering that people went through to get there. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Some people, they just get lucky and they succeed. But in most cases, it's really a long trajectory of trying out things and looking silly many, many times until you look smart. So the challenge is maybe to promote a little bit more that failures, nobody likes failure. And if you take Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, he likes to say failure is terrible, but you can't innovate, you can't create something big without accepting that you're going to have 1,000 failures. So he likes to say that the one big success actually happens because we have thousands of failures. So I do think we need to cherish not the failure per se, but the fact that the success comes from a whole long trail of experiences that you have to go through, and that is the part that we don't show enough. And in companies, that is a difficult thing, even in countries. So I like to quote my friend Steve Blank, who invented this whole lean startup movement coming out of Silicon Valley. He likes to say there's one thing that Silicon Valley is pretty good at. There's a lot of things we can probably criticize, but there's one thing they're good at. They have a particular name for failure. They call it experience, right? In Switzerland is the contrary, where I come from. You have failure, it's going to be something you're carrying with you for a very long time. But take venture capitalists, they don't like investing in young entrepreneurs who've never tried and failed, because they will make the mistakes that more experienced entrepreneurs won't make. So we need to see failure not as a good thing, but as experience, right? Something you're never going to do again. Because you can't teach, you can't write, you're going to learn how to ride a bicycle by falling down a couple of times. So it's really putting that experience at the center of our attention, not the failure per se. And that will shift things pretty dramatically, because then we'll see that success is not something that happens just overnight, but it's a long kind of trail of experience, which includes tons of failure.
Very good.
Alex,
now, before we get into questions from the audience, Sanyin, I can see why I was always ranked number one. Unlike those other people that Alex talked about who fail and never do it again, I have the incredible gift of failing the same things over and over and over again. So I'm not one of those like quick learners that he's talking about. Yeah, I just screw up, and then tomorrow. All right, Justin. Is Justin there? Justin, do we have a great question from the audience? Justin, we can't hear you. Justin, we can't hear you. Hello? Justin, we can't hear you.
Am I clear? Yes.
Now
okay.
You are.
Okay, Marshall, circle
Justin,
back on the poll
we all love you,
that you had asked the audience earlier, which was the only way to predict the future is to create it. And you asked, who said this? So we got a few answers coming in. We have 3 people that give credit to Abraham Lincoln. One person, Andrew Nowak, says Peter Drucker. Yatika says Dennis Gabor, a physicist. And we had William H., who says, I don't know, someone with a lot of money. So those are our guesses so far. Anybody right?
Look, I'm going with Abraham Lincoln. You know why? I'm his damn cousin. His grandmother was my long ago great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. So we're going with Abraham Lincoln. He's my cousin. He's the guy that said it from here on in. All the Peter Drucker, phony. It was Abraham Lincoln that did it. Let's hear it from my cousin, Abraham.
I challenge you.
Okay.
Peter Drucker.
Okay. Okay, I'm going with Abraham Lincoln. He was before Peter Drucker. Yeah, I don't know if you know this. Abraham Lincoln was a president of the United States long ago. He's a very, very wise fellow. Now, okay, Justin, give us our first question.
Okay, we got a bunch of great questions here. And I just want to say we keep a tight 30-minute schedule. So just know that even if we can't ask your question and answer it live on air, our host, Marshall, Sanyin, and our guests, Ayse and Alex, are definitely going to go through the comments and respond to those later. So if we don't get to your question live on air, just know that we are listening to you. We do see that, and you will get a response on those questions. So first one comes from Brian Wallace in Houston, Texas. And he asks, space, there's these diagrams behind you. What are they?
I didn't get it. Did you hear
Alex's
that?
diagram. The question.
The diagram. Okay, Alex. What's behind you?
That's good. That allows me to do a little bit of book marketing. So what you see behind me is actually a design process. When we create books, we design them. So all of these things here are spreads, book pages from our recent book called The Invincible Company. So we work really like the designers. I don't write books, and my team and myself, we actually craft books with the design process.
Excellent. Okay, Justin, question number 2.
Okay, next one is from Washington, D.C. This one comes from Josephine. She says, it is true that anyone can visualize how they want to see their future, but the problem is in implementing this process. So do you have any tips on actual implementation?
Okay, Ayse, you do this one.
I'll do this one. So that's a great question. And the implementation is what I find is designers get excited by ideas. And once they're excited by an idea, they're really driven to make it happen, to bring it to life. So what's important is doing enough permutations of ideas, different combinations of possibilities, and developing these concepts for your life or your product or your service until there's one that really excites you and draws your attention because it's an elegant solution. And once you have that, you can really go and implement it. In the way to implement, like what Marshall did, I think the reason that he developed Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches idea was, among all his ideas, that really struck him as something that was exciting, teaching other people everything he knows. And that drove him to take the next steps. So the next steps are include your friends and your family in your idea because they're your collaborators, and design ideas really come to life when you're collaborating. Make your idea public. Once you make it public, chances are you need to follow through. So that also hugely helps. In Marshall's case, he made it public on LinkedIn. And once you do that, you'll find it's hard to go back. And then maybe the third piece is to try by testing. So once you have the idea, what designers usually do, and Alex knows this very well, you don't put all your risk into one bucket. You try in small doses. So you first do a quick mock-up, you test it, and then you refine that, and then you take the next step. So I would suggest that whatever your idea is, test, refine in small doses, and then get better and better at it.
And in closing, finally, thank you to Sanyin, my wonderful comrade. Thank you, Sanyin. You're wonderful. Thank you to Ayse, who's coaching me. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to Alex, who somehow got invited to be on the call with the rest of us. I'm not sure how, but you're here anyway. So thank you. Thank you, Alex. So anyway, wonderful. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Love everybody, and see you at the next time. Bye-bye.